Matt McKay from Tasmania. If I was going to get complaints and really annoy people, he was the best test subject. I figured he would have said something that somebody would have complained about. So I think you're going to be safe. And I do remember years and years ago, almost apologizing for you online and telling people, "Oh, he doesn't really mean that. It's not that bad." But nowadays, I don't care. So go for it. Speak bluntly. Say whatever you want. And
Well, exactly. It's like I had to block Matt on Facebook because he was just one of Wilkes's lackeys when the Wilkes powerlifting split happened in New Zealand, and
yeah,
he was just parroting everything Wilkes said without actually looking into it properly. And look where that's gone now, that feed. So it was just amazing the naivety of people that just believed everything that Robert Wilkes said, that the IPF's all corrupt and blah, 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 and we're going to have this flash new federation that's going to do this, and we've got China, and it's just all bullshit. Like, if you've
just
played any real sport, you'll realise that the IPF is no more corrupt than FIFA and World Rugby and anything. That's just what international federations are like in real
yeah,
sport.
yeah. I think people don't quite wrap their head around the business model that most amateur sports are running off. Like everything
Yeah.
costs money, and it's
Yeah.
not a profitable sport. So it always looks like it's kind of corrupt, but it's not. It's
No,
just
not really, because it's
just
like
the way.
even if these guys are making a bit of money out of the exec fees and all that sort of thing, it doesn't come anywhere close to covering the time and effort you're putting in. And I don't know how you can be on the IPF executive committee unless you're independently wealthy and can afford to travel, and maybe you're semi-retired anyway.
Right.
That maybe it covers a bit of your expenses, but it's not. So I can't see them earning hundreds of thousands of dollars or anything like a decent income. Maybe there's part of
Yeah.
that. Yeah.
You would think by now, if there was rampant corruption amongst the IPF, people like Piotr would dress a little bit better.
Yeah. So
Anyway, so where are you at these days with powerlifting?
uh, I'm like just refereeing locally, occasionally nationally. The ones I like refereeing these days, like there's the schools comp here in Wellington. That's
Hmm.
always fun, and Special Olympics. They're the comps I really enjoy. Like at nationals, I don't really feel that welcome at nationals because I'm in the wrong age group. Um,
Hmm.
a few years ago, I was thinking, I want to be a Cat 2, but actual refereeing experience and ability isn't what NZPF is looking for Cat 2 refs these days. So the committee just nominate themselves. And it's like, I've given up on that. So I'm probably going to drop off the local Wellington committee next year.
Hmm.
There's a good group there that the young people sort of heading it are putting a lot of time into it, whether they're still there in a few years or whether they burn themselves out. But it's getting to the stage where everyone wants to do things their way.
Yep.
Yeah, it's,
And that's always been the great difficulty in powerlifting, isn't it? Is like most of the people that are involved in wanting to organize competitions or organize the sport are very independent, kind of stubborn people. Um,
yeah.
and I think for those of us that have been around a long time, that was also one of the attractions of the sport, is that it kind of encouraged stubbornness and independence.
Yeah.
And then so trying to get those people to coordinate and work together, it's always going to be tough. Always going
And
to be tough.
it's like the newer generation's doing well, but they want everything to be the same and the same level of quality everywhere. So we split nationals this year into an open nationals and a junior masters nationals.
Hmm.
That's still 3 days each.
Yeah.
The masters sort of barely get a day. Eventually, you probably need a masters nationals and a junior, sub junior, and an open. But that's a lot of commitment to volunteers,
It
and
is.
it's a lot of effort unless you put decent qualifying standards in, and then that becomes what are the qualifying standards and who sets them, and because they reset the qualifying totals a year and a half ago, and Tim Monagatti made them up and effectively just looked at open and juniors and then put these crazy totals in for masters. And then I heard this, oh, well, Tim's a data scientist, so of course they're all correct. So a bunch of us, including me, put some actual effort and stats into it and went back to the powers that be on NZPF and said, well, here's where they should be. Here's the actual statistics around it. And we got those updated.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Interesting. I know the APA, because I'm not lifting, I kind of ignored it a lot and stayed out of it. But I know there was a lot of conjecture around qualifying standards and the difference, both male to female and masters to open in the APA. Did you see much of that going on?
I saw what happened to the APA one, and their qualifying standards don't make sense either. And it's not hard to create fair qualifying standards based on what's out there. I mean, we did this 14 years ago when Raw was created.
Yeah, I was like, I wanted to make sure people understand that you're one of the few people that's not just armchair quarterbacking and like one of the old men from the Muppets just yelling comments. You were heavily involved in putting all the records, the new standards, qualifying standards when Raw became a thing in 2011 or 12, right?
Yeah, I mean, I helped Robert create the qualifying standards, worked out the percentages between each lift. I took a lot of work off the USAPL because they had been running Raw for a couple of years, so you can see the percentages. And even with Raw, people think it was between wraps and knee sleeves, and it was between nothing on your knees at all and knee sleeves. And I created this document for Robert of all of these other sports like softball and rugby and everything else that had some sort of protection on their knees, just to ensure we had something. Because we had the USAPL with sleeves and that sort of thing, but it was never between wraps and sleeves. It was the UK people wanting nothing at all, and maybe that works for young kids, but I like warm knees. Yeah,
I remember some of the arguments because I was an advocate for bare knees.
yeah.
And it was because I lived in the Pilbara, and putting anything on your knees for at least 6 months a year feels horrendous. And my knees are always warm when I live in 45 degrees. So I didn't want to wear, I didn't want, I didn't want anything.
Yeah.
It's like, but yeah, like it was like, yeah, I don't think people realized that the argument wasn't for knee sleeves originally.
Yeah.
And the knee sleeves that we had initially were, well, we had the Tommy Konos. They were legal.
And Ray-Ban, that was it.
And Ray-Bans, yeah. The old blue Ray-Bans from the mid-90s, World's Strongest Man.
Yeah, and I had a pair of those that lasted me 10 years and they finally fell apart. But,
Hang on a second. Look, still going strong. I still got some.
Yeah.
I've because you remember when the Gillinghams bought like heaps of them. They stocked up when the blue ones were unavailable. So I think I bought about 5 or 6 pairs, stockpiled them. So I've still got them to pull out. There's probably a brand new pair somewhere in a box.
Because I remember when I first bought them, it was I did the Capo State titles in 2006, which was me, Dan Macri, Matt Van Bernigan, and I think one of Matt's mates from Collie came up and did a bench only. So I bought some sleeves, and one arrived because I bought it from the Australian health distributor that was selling them for rehab and that. And I just figured you got them in a pair, and I got one sleeve, so I had to quickly order another one.
That's right.
Yeah.
So we're talking about setting qualifying standards. That's right. And so you looked at what the USAPL are doing for their qualifying standards. You looked at a whole lot
Great
of
Britain and
Great
whoever
Britain,
was doing
world
Raw
data.
out there. Yeah, just to work out what the percentage was between equipped, like the percentage between each lift, the rough difference between equipped and raw, which was sort of back before the katanas got out of hand So it was roughly, there was a rough percentage, and you could sort of see it between weight classes and male to female. So there was a percentage between each one. It wasn't just looking at one weight and age class and applying that to everyone. And then it was just smoothing them across the age classes
Mm-hmm.
there, because we wanted them to be, you want to have standards so that people have to make an effort. You don't want the first person in the first comp to automatically set the records. And Australia's always been good that way, and New Zealand's taken it on board as well. That
Yeah,
you
I
have,
remember the standards took at least 2 years for to be broken, weren't they? It
yeah,
did took a long time. It wasn't like, within the first 6 months everything was broken. It
yeah,
was quite difficult.
yeah. And we had the same here in Wellington when the former federation got taken over by the Wilkes crowd. So we had to create Wellington Central Powerlifting from scratch. So I created some standards there, which are the same thing as most of them have been beaten now, but there's still a few. Like I updated the records yesterday, and we still haven't had a 47 kilo woman compete. But
Right.
just about everything else is there, apart from some of the masters and that. And then I updated the record a year and a half ago, saying, "Well, that can't be right because it's Brett Gibbs's record." And we've got this guy Patrick, who's a great deadlifter, who deadlifted 330 or something,
Mm-hmm.
which was the first of Brett's records to go. And I think eventually the other ones will start to go. I think some of his sub junior ones, or some of his 83 kilo junior might have been hit, but eventually that will go as well. So
Mm-hmm. Do you know what Brett is doing these days?
I hear he's doing Ironman. I haven't taken spoken. I've never really been good friends with him.
Like as in, because
Yeah,
he's in Wellington, right?
somewhere in the region, yeah.
Somewhere in the region, yeah. So like Ironman as in swim through the ocean, get on a bike, and then go
40
for a run.
marathon, yeah. That's it.
Wow.
Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah. Wow. That's extreme. And that's a real change from powerlifting.
yeah. But it's also, if you're that level an athlete, he's going from top of one sport to, it's almost like, what's the hardest sport I can find? It's not
Right?
requiring me to bench, because I understand he had some issues with his elbows that he couldn't lock them out anymore. But
Gotcha.
and it's probably a good thing for his health to try something completely different.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I saw a few videos back in the day of him hitting a golf ball. I reckon if he switched over golf, he would do pretty well.
yeah,
Actually, I think Brett's the kind of guy that whatever he switches to, he's going to go really well at it. He's going to perform at a super high level.
yeah. And it's got to be the sort of thing that'll work with his physique, because being short and stocky works great for powerlifting, but it's probably not the best physique to be an Ironman or to be a runner or a cyclist.
Probably
But
not.
I think he's just doing it. And anyone who competes in Ironman has got the training down pat, and maybe he's not going to be elite at it, but just competing, and that is a feat in itself for that sort of thing.
So talking about competing, when was the last time you competed?
Uh, Earlier this year, I did the first, when we split the nationals. So I did the Masters 2 nationals this year, and I'd been on holiday a month before, so I couldn't be bothered making weight. And there's this guy Derek competing in that weight class anyway, so I ended up competing in the 120s, which I ended up coming fourth. Which,
Okay.
the fact that we had four M2 120s was pretty good, and I was probably 20 kilos behind fourth, and I think I totaled 577 or something.
Right.
Yeah,
So
so
this fella called Derek in the 105s, is that the Derek that I'm thinking of?
it is. Like
Wow.
it came up. Like we had a for because we were hosting North Islands last year, and
Hmm.
on one of the committee calls we had, one of the guys said, "Oh, and this guy's entered with a 980 kilo total." from like 15 years ago. And I didn't tweak. Like, and they were like, "Oh, is he?" And I didn't tweak until he came up on the entrance. I thought, "That's Derek Pramana. He's the goat."
Oh my
And I
goodness.
ended up weighing him in and refing at North Islands. And he put some incredibly low openers in. I said, "Oh, are you injured?" And he goes, "Oh, yeah, I'm just sort of making a comeback."
Mm.
And then he went like something like 180, well, sort of 160, 200, 220 on the squat. Ended up benching him at 120. And then on the deadlift, he went, I think, 180, 230. And then someone said to him, "Oh, the best deadlift ever for a Masters 2 is 280 kilos." So he just whacked 281 kilos on the bar, no belt, just
Of course not.
did
Of
this
course
out.
not.
And then he totaled something like 720 this year. He's
Wow.
still got it.
Yep.
Like he's got an arm injury, so I can still bench more than him just.
There you
Um,
go.
yeah, squat and deadlift there's no catching him. So yeah.
Oh man, I got so many questions about that. How did people receive him? Did people realize who they were watching, or like what's the go?
A few of the older people did, and those of us that knew let everyone else know. But obviously, some of the newer people didn't. But and then he was clearly best lifter at nationals last year, and also this year.
Yeah.
Although we've got a few people chasing him, so it's good to see him back. And I think he's doing Oceanas in a few weeks in Christchurch, where he'll set some records.
Yep.
Yeah,
Oh man, that'll be sensational. Are you going to Oceanias?
no, no,
No.
it's like yeah.
I think Joel Riding is the head of the technical committee for that one.
Yeah, and
Mm.
I don't know what happened with Australia where we had Gordon and Pam join Samoa, and I see Joel is now representing Kiribati.
Yeah.
So something completely went wrong with APU that you've got all of these super experienced refs going, no, not not putting up with this
Yeah,
anymore. I'll represent
I
the
have
islands.
no idea what happened over there. I saw Joel about a year ago.
Yeah,
He was here in Perth, and so at the start of the year, and I was hoping to be in New Zealand, but it hasn't turned out that way. But I have no idea why there's so many people just scattered across
yeah,
the island, the Pacific Islands.
yeah. And then I saw Leanne at nationals this year because
Leanne Dort.
yeah, because she was
Yeah, so she
supporting
came across with
Steve
Stephen
King.
King.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I didn't realize that was her boyfriend, but he was the only person lifting equipped at nationals because equipped is effectively dead here because the equipment's hard to source and it's
Yep.
expensive, but also there's no comps that they're really promoted or you're allowed to do it at nationals. But equipped is one of those things you've got to have people around you and you've got to have other people doing it. That it's pretty hard to lift equipped in a raw flight and do it well,
Yeah.
as you
Yeah.
know.
No, it's weird. That'd be weird. I think. Um, we've got like maybe a dozen or so equipped lifters left in Australia, and a lot of them are just raw lifters that aren't making qualifying standards for raw comps. So they go, well, if I put knee wraps on, I'll be equipped, and the qualifying standard is different, so I'll get in. So that I think is one way APA are trying to promote people staying in equipment, almost using it as like the alternate path to traveling for Australian
Which, to
teams.
be honest, is pretty sad.
Mm.
Like, if you can't meet the raw qualifying total when you have to do it equipped, then you end up with the also rans there. And I've seen a bit of that in Great Britain. You've got the countries that have always done equipped and do it well, like Ukraine and Norway and
Hmm.
the Eastern European countries. And if Russia ever comes back, they'll probably be into it. But I think the equipped is dying. And part of that is there's no new equipment. If you look at what's
Yeah.
out there, it's Titan Centurions, Serbi Katanas. You got the Oni shirt, but they've got to spice it up and allow some single ply band shirts. And I've got a pair of the Spud Gateway briefs,
Hmm.
and they're fantastic. Think of like briefs that feel like a knee wrap, or knee
Yeah,
sleeve.
right.
They're
That
sort
would
of
be.
rubber.
Yeah.
They're fantastic, and they're comfortable to put on. And they just, I bought them when I was having my hip issues, but I only squat in them these days because they just give you a bit of comfort and warmth, but they're not restrictive and painful like normal squat suits and that are.
Yeah. Yeah, right. Yeah, that would. I think if I'd love to see the IPF open up single ply band shirts.
Yeah,
There's like I hadn't I've seen them online obviously, but I saw Ray Owen earlier on this year, and uh, Ray's putting up some lifetime best numbers in these band shirts over in Capo, and he brought one to breakfast.
yeah,
Smart ass. He knew what he was doing, and so like, oh, okay, I'll have a quick look at it, and I put it on, and dude, it is so much simpler than a regular single ply shirt. Like
yeah,
there's you can put it on. You can use pretty much identical technique to what you do in a like a slingshot or a Titan Ram. Um, you just lift a whole lot more, and everything's locked in. I think that's if I ever came back, that's what I would want to be doing, just for how it makes my body feel.
yeah. I remember being jealous of Dan McRae's bench shirts because I put one on and it's like, oh, this is like so warm and comfy, and you don't have to have
Right?
it ultra tight, and yeah, it's
Oh,
just
those big open the big open
the
back
open
ones,
back
right? With
ones and
the
the middle, yeah,
yeah, man.
uh,
I can't tell you how I don't. If I wasn't good at it, I would have stopped years ago because trying to put on shirts, every week through summer, getting ready for the Arnold Classic, that was a nightmare, man. My training session was the same time it took me to put a shirt on was how long it took me to train in the shirt, and then getting it off was almost as difficult in the end.
it
It
was
was
bad enough down
nuts,
in Perth trying to do his equipment. Well, I can't imagine what it was like in Karratha in the heat
right?
up there. So
Yeah, and I was putting the shirt on by myself as well.
yeah,
And then every now and then I'd get a random person walking past to do something. But yeah, but I think with a band shirt, put it on and off by yourself. You don't need heaps of training partners. Uh, it loads up by stretching, not that awful compression feeling you got from a
yeah.
regular poly shirt. It just feels good, man. Like,
And I don't think I timed it well for bench shirts because when I stopped doing equipped, which was mainly because I'd look like a beetroot after an equipped comp because of just the blood rushing to my head and I'd sort of get capillaries burst and that sort of thing. But they got rid of the sternum rule after that. And I was
that's right.
always sort of struggling with, I'd open in the normal katana and then go to the super katana on the second because I couldn't touch the sternum with an opening weight on a super cat. So,
Yeah, that's why I stayed in the F6s until the rule change. Um, Yes, I did 330 in the F6 because I could get that to my sternum, and it felt like that's why I almost choked myself in that comp over in New Zealand where I passed out. The sternum, I hated the sternum rule. It's just it
yeah.
was one of the dumbest ever. Much like the elbow depth rule that we've got now. Like,
Yeah, I don't mind the elbow depth rule in terms of it's a sensible rule to have. Just the way it's written is terrible, and the way it's enforced is just so
it's hit and
inconsistent.
miss. Yeah,
Yeah, like that poor
yeah,
girl from Australia that got bombed out in the 52s last year, where you look at it and go, well, that was fine. And then the heavier people get, the less the sternum rule seems to come into it. And now
or the
you've
elbow
got
rule.
these effect, yeah,
Yeah,
the
yeah,
elbow rule, and now you've got these slingshots where people sink it into their chest, dump their chest down, and then fling the bar up with their chest, which is just inside how heaving is written in the rule book.
right.
Which I think that needs to be changed because it just looks terrible.
Yeah, it's a shitty bench. Fortunately, there's not too many people that are super successful with it. So I think that's one of those ones that we're always going to see it, but it'll never be the mainstream bench.
Yeah, and it's only if you
So
get. I mean, it's coached as well. I've
yeah,
noticed. So yeah,
yeah. Uh, but you're right; it does look ugly. I think the what else have we had? Like the uneven lockout rule came and gone. There's been a lot of bench rules that have been around for 2 or 3 years and then disappeared.
yeah, because when they changed in 2011, you were allowed uneven extension. The sternum rule went away. it was allowed to stop halfway up.
Mm-hmm.
But now, as a ref, you're looking at so many different things. We're having to look at elbow, feet, butt, heads. It's just the hardest lift to ref. And you've
Oh
almost
yeah.
got to be a contortionist. It's hard for us old folk to
You
get in the
have
right
have
position to do it.
eyes going three different directions and looking at three
Yeah.
things. Could be worse. It could be parabenching.
I know. It's like people complain about IPF, but if you look at the strictness of it, Paralympic and then IWF weightlifting are much more
Oh my
strict than,
god.
than IPF is.
So the I don't know if you're aware, but the World Parabench Championships are going on at the moment in
Yeah.
Cairo. Ben Wright's over there did really well. Another one of our guys, Parry Mutaris from Sydney, um, he got red lights on his second and third, and I'm like, oh, I can't work that out. And it came up body sequence. And so all the things that I would look for body sequence, I'm going, he's fine. I can't see anything. We found out 24 hours later, it's because on the leg that he has a prosthesis. So he lost his foot at his ankle. And so on that side, his knee won't bend all the way. And so he got done for his knee being bent through the lift.
Even though you're strapped to the bench.
Yep.
Oh.
Yeah. That is how tough
I
parabenching
have
is.
watched enough Paralympic and gone, no idea what the lights were for that. Maybe it
Right.
looked too easy, or like it was fractionally slowed down, or it wasn't the exact
Yeah.
same speed all the way through. It's
So now he's got to go off and get reclassified. So show them it's because of his disability that he can't do that. He's not cheating. He's not trying to get an advantage.
yeah.
And I don't know how slightly bending one knee is an advantage anyway.
I
When
struggle to think of how it could help you
yeah,
when you're strapped to the bench. It's
it's just weird, man. It's so weird. So yeah, this is the struggle within Paralympic sports. Is these guys are having to go and get classified, go see doctors, and go to prove what they can and can't do, which just
yeah.
seems absurd to me. Like it's already hard enough. They're already at a disadvantage. Like they're already overcoming more than anyone else. Like I figure if it goes down and up and it looks pretty good, that's a good lift.
And unfortunately, it's not even offered here in New Zealand. Like we've got a guy who competes with us, who effectively does our comps, and we sort of strap him to the bench. But he said that there's just no comps in New Zealand to do. Like he's tried to get them working. I think there might be one in the South Island, but there's no options for people to do Paralympic bench. And yeah, it's a shame.
Yeah, it's tough because like once again, it's more specialized equipment. But you know, a lot of what we're doing with in Perth now is we're trying to find gyms that will that are open to us putting a para bench in there. Because I think the first step with getting developing the sport is just seeing more people with disabilities in gyms.
Yeah.
So if we can kind of modify the environment a little bit, that you can, like you watch Ben get around the muscle pit, he's quite magnificent at that, but it's not the easiest space to navigate in a chair. Gyms are really crowded places. And, if we could find ways just to have an area in which training in a wheelchair or with sticks or prosthetics would be doable. I think that's the big first step. So it's probably more on the powerlifting community.
Wasn't there a setup at WA Institute of Sport? Because I remember back in the late 2000s, there was another super heavyweight Paralympic bencher whose name escapes me.
Darren Gardner, the man they call Bear. So that bench, so there's two benches. One of them belongs to Ben personally, and one of which he got given to him by Darren, and I think one belongs to the program. The problem we have is when we go to train there, like when we were training for Paris last year for the Olympics, we would go to WACE and the bench would be there. But then when we're not there for a little while, the bench goes into storage. Ben and Nang, when they started the, what do they call themselves? The Dung Beetles. The Western Force helped them for a little while, and then the Western Force kicked them out of the gym.
Yeah.
They've had that problem with a lot of different, in a bunch of different places. Henry Day obviously has been a massive supporter, is the only consistent supporter, but we're trying to find more spaces now that we could have para athletes training. And I tell you, it's a big struggle. It's really hard to open up these spaces.
Yeah. And speaking of Henry, it's like he's done so much for powerlifting in WA, and I really didn't give him the respect he was due when I was there. But I remember when we did that first Capo titles in 2006, that powerlifting had been dormant for a few years. So it was at the Muscle Pit in Carlisle before it moved to the current location.
Mm-hmm.
And he got a bunch of people turn up to help support and ref and that sort of thing. And then I totaled 460 kilos, which I was pretty happy with. But looking back, is a shocking total when you've got people in the past that were doing way more than that. But I never felt anything other than welcomed and supported, and people like Henry helped that, and Henning really helped get us that first IPF comp, because he called up Robert Wilkes and basically harangued him into allowing a comp.
Okay, I've never heard that. I've never actually heard this story before. So this is news to me, because this is where I met you, right? That first comp we did together in, what was it, April of 2007?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So Henning
was Henning
won up Robert, because Alan wasn't having any luck getting support to run a comp locally, because Robert was like, well, you got to have 3 qualified referees and all to be movements and blah, blah, blah. And then he was going, I don't want to happen at a Capo location. So Henning rang him up, and he just knows how to speak to Robert to get the right things done. And he convinced him, like, if you want IPF back in WA, then you've got to show a little bit of leniency and allow things to happen. So that got it sorted. And then I was talking to Alan and said, oh, well, who else is coming down for it? And he said, oh, I've got this super heavyweight pastor from Karratha coming down. And I was thinking, I was picturing someone who looks similar to you, big grey beard, old man sort of guy, and you turn up looking like a young West Side.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, that was fun. And then I've told my part of the story often enough that I knew Adam Coe from years and years ago. So when I was looking up how to get involved in powerlifting, I'd keep on seeing Adam's name and a phone number, and I'd try and call Adam. And I only found out years later that he used to go through phone numbers, like he would change his underwear. And so I never got through to him. Tried to get hold of Alan, because Alan was working in government, right? Those departmental email addresses get changed every 12 months. So, he never received my emails, but it was Robert Wilkes was the first person to pick up a phone. We had a 5-minute chat, and then that was me in the competition.
Because I actually did get a hold of Adam, and so I'd done 3 or 4 bench only comps that Adam was running up in Wanneroo,
right?
Which was just like a casual sort of bench and deadlift with that they had this deadlift bar that they'd actually cut grooves in to apparently make the grip better. But it was just fun. It's like Adam would run it, sort of help people out, and it would be the typical sort of someone would open on 140 and get squished and go, oh, can I go down to 120 for my next one? It was good fun. But then I did that, and then it was like, oh, I want to do squat now. And then Henry organised that comp. And then I was looking around going, well, where do I want to compete? And looked at nationally, there was Capo and IPF pretty much. And it was like, well, the IPF seems to have better competition, and what I could see on the grainy videos that were available, it looks more interesting. And also just the amount of people competing in those weight classes were more than Capo. So that was why I decided, well, that's where I want to go for IPF.
Yeah, I remember being happy with my decision to go with the IPF affiliate, because I found out that's where Ed Cohen lifted.
Yeah.
Back in the day. And I'm like, oh, okay, cool. I picked the right one. It's all good. And so I, never really looked into the federations until well after I got started.
It was only after
I didn't even
sort of hear all that sort of thing. And
I didn't even realize coming into the sport that there was, that there was variations on powerlifting. I thought powerlifting was powerlifting. I was so wrong. and now there's 17 different types of powerlifting in Australia. So,
yeah, because there was sort of only two. I think there was the old drug-free powerlifting in the WOPs of South Australia, and I remember asking Wilkes about it at one stage, and he goes, "Oh, they're all good." He obviously had a falling out with them, so he hated them as well, and he referred to Capo as a bunch of gangsters and druggies and criminals. And then there was only really, of the two, there's only really Capo and IPA in Powerlifting Australia. Oh, and then, of course, Dan's Fed. Did you hear about OPO?
oh, the OPO. I totally forgot about the OPO. That lasted,
So,
what,
so
12
that was
months
where
or
people
something?
went where Capo was too strict.
Was that a dispute about monoliths? Was that one?
No, it was that they wanted the judging to be the equivalent of what West Side judging was in the States. So Capo
Right.
was effectively roughly IPF with a little bit more leniency on squat depth, but not allowing blatantly high squats, which is what OPO allowed. And to be fair, they were just going, well, if I want to set a WPC world record, then we want the same conditions as they've got. So, but it was a tiny thing.
Yeah, it was. I think didn't Dave Park squat the record in there in the end? I think he squatted 415
Might have been, yeah.
back
I just
in.
remember that Dan competed there, and
Yeah, I
yeah,
think 2007 or 8 was their only years of existence.
yeah.
Holy crap, yeah, OPO. So what other federations have we had come and go? So obviously the big one now is GPC, kind of sprung up around circa 2011 and looks today like it's just about disappeared again.
Yeah, it seems to be there in Victoria, but I see Marcos has resigned now after. I see he's deleted his post, so I probably shouldn't really say what's there. But it's and then you've got whatever Paul Rucci's flavour of the month was with APO and IPO and a bunch of
Oh, the Ruchis are gone as well. They got
yeah,
nothing. I don't think they have anything to do with powerlifting now.
yeah,
I know we've got. Well, Sean Muir went to kettlebells once the APU started to fizzle out. That was the next venture, and that he's doing kettlebell championships now.
which is just it's just so dull watching it. To be honest, it's because I was doing all round weightlifting, which was great fun because it was just a bunch of obscure lifts, and you could pick one of 300 lifts on the books and have a go at the record days at the Belmont Sports and Recreation Centre, and that's still sort of hanging in there with a few old timers. But powerlifting feds, people just take their ball and go somewhere else and start something up. Um, yeah, it's just I wouldn't say it's strange because previously I did karate and that's exactly the same.
Right.
Is you get what I'd call chief instructor syndrome, where someone gets pissed off and sets their own federation up, and it's sort of exactly the same, and that's still happening. So yeah, just obscure sports like this just have it that
Yeah, I love that we're so niche. We're niche, like, and we're always going to be niche. We're never going to be a mainstream sport because I think, and we talked about this a long time ago. If the really good athletes came to powerlifting, we would be screwed. We would have no place to play anymore. Like we'd get shuffled out. Um, it works in our favor that all the best athletes go to the NFL or into Aussie rules or rugby league because then they don't come into powerlifting and powerlifting is always going to be, I think, that next level down of competition.
yeah. So we've
I
got
think,
better athletes come through because it's just more popular, but we're still not seeing the absolute best of the best athletes come through because there's no money in it.
yeah,
If you're
why would you?
naturally gifted, why would you go to a sport that you can maybe earn $30,000 by winning Sheffield
Right?
compared to earning millions of dollars a year by playing golf, tennis, cricket, any of the Aussie Aussie
I
rules.
always use
Yeah,
Odell as the perfect example for that. Like he had a
yeah,
decent rugby league career, and he played for the Warriors, the Raiders, and he finished up in North Queensland where he met Pete Smith and all those guys, and they got him into powerlifting,
yeah.
and he dominated powerlifting in the end. Like where he came, like he wasn't the greatest rugby player of all time. Like he's not in that
And
argument, but
he
he's in the
was injured
argument.
out of rugby league. So
Yeah,
someone
and
who's
like
too injured to play rugby league goes, oh, I'll do
is the
powerlifting,
best
becomes the
powerlifter
best
that we
ever in
can.
Australia.
Yeah, it's
Yeah,
like yeah. So that's why I say I don't want NFL players or rugby league players getting steered towards powerlifting because they'll just kill the sport for the masses, make
yeah,
it. Um, which is also probably why this Olympic dream is just a pipe dream and will always be a pipe dream.
yeah. It's. I think the only way powerlifting could get in there is by linking up with IWF and having it as a different event. So you have
Yeah,
Olympic weightlifting and then you have powerlifting, which would be easy to bring in, but that'll never happen because they don't talk to each other, don't like each other.
no.
And IWF is on the sort of rocky list anyway because of drug failures. And there's no way that if powerlifting did get into the Olympics by some strange coincidence, that drug use would just rocket because
Yeah,
it's
because
just going
now,
to happen in those countries. So yeah,
yep, yeah. Like if you're in one of those countries that traditionally returns a lot of drug fails in other sports,
yeah,
you just got another sport to choose from. You get on the gear and test your luck, I guess.
yeah.
And
And
I'm
we don't do
and I'm
nearly
I'm
enough
talking
testing to do at the
specifically
moment.
North Africa and Eastern Europe. You know,
Yeah, yeah,
and it's worthwhile in those countries because if you can get on one of those Olympic programs, you've got better accommodation, better access to resources like meals and all those sort of things. It's worthwhile getting into an Olympic program in some nations if you're good enough to go for gold, and where there's that level of incentive, drug use is rampant.
yeah. And if you look at say Olympic weightlifting, North Korea is winning lots of golds at the IWF Worlds the last month. Because can you imagine WADA trying to turn up and out a competition test someone in North Korea? It's not going to happen. So the best they can happen is they'll be tested at comp.
Yeah,
So yeah,
yeah. I think to get into North Korea, you would probably WADA would be giving at least 6 weeks notice to get inside the country and have
yeah,
to present a list of here's all the people that we'll test.
yeah.
So jeez, it's
And
a
even
shame.
then, they probably won't get the right samples out anyway because it'll be, oh, we'll hold those for you and we'll transport them for you. So, yeah, okay,
Yeah, these four men with guns are going to take those samples for you now.
yeah. So, and if it got into the Olympics, you'd have to make it a bit more exciting somehow. Like the constant jury overturns. Like I'd like to see jury similar to how they do it in cricket, where the captain gets a challenge. So if each
Oh,
coach or lifter
okay.
had one challenge that you could either use on yourself or on another lifter, that would make it quite exciting. Rather than the jury just randomly over, not so much randomly, just
Ah.
almost constantly overturning with video review. If you said, "Oh, I'm going to challenge that lift now,"
Hmm.
yeah,
That would be wow. That would cause drama, wouldn't it? That would be
yeah,
proper
and that's what
drama to
you want
watch.
in a
It'd
sport.
be
You want some
entertaining. It'd be
drama. So
entertaining.
yeah,
Ah. That would remember the IPF tried to bring in. You had to pay for like if you wanted to appeal someone else's lift, you had to pay.
yeah, and I don't think that ever got to the national level.
Mm.
So I don't know if you saw it when you were at Worlds with
I
that.
watched my first world's Kenneth Sandvik ran like we all watched Frederick Svensson's final attempt, and it was back when the sternum rule was in full effect. And Frederick, I think he probably put the bar on his hip bone. It was so low. It was glaringly low. It was really bad.
Yeah,
It's just horrible. And he got two white lights. And so uh, Stephen Pritchard was recording. Actually, yeah, that's right. The jury took Stephen's camera. I forgot all about that. So Stephen Pritchard had videoed the lift. The jury took the camera. Kenta ran to the back of the warm-up room to get his €100 or however much it was out of his wallet. Ran ran back to the jury table.
Yeah.
Actually, I think it was Marcella, his wife. She sprinted back in while Kenta was at the table and put over €100 or whatever it was. And they go, yeah, we're protesting that one. And that's how Kenta won Worlds and that was his last win at Worlds, I think.
Because I quite like the change they've made recently that you're not allowed to challenge another lifter.
Yeah.
You can only challenge your own results. But the jury just seems to be taking too many of their own decisions without any sort of challenge, especially the elbow depth rule. And it just varies by weight class depending on who's on the jury and who's refereeing. And it's just too inconsistent.
I know in speaking, and I spent a lot of time with referees last year in Texas because that was a 2-week competition I stayed for. So I was there refereeing most days. So I spent a lot of time in the room where the referees get fed and looked after, and we have cookies and coffee and whatever. And it was being talked about by the cat refs there, or the red ties, about who liked overruling, who didn't, who felt it was right to overappeal. So even amongst these cat refs, there's a big variation on on when they think they should be overruling. Like I know some of the better, who I think are the better refs, they said we're not looking at anything until it's like, oh, holy shit, that looks horrible. That's a horrible, bad mistake. Then they overrule. But
And
where
that's
it's
what
like,
it should be, yeah.
where it's line ball, they go, well, that'll even itself out across the competition.
What my small claim to fame is I got the IPF rulebook updated to say specifically the jury had to be at least 3 people after a Graham Fong one-man jury overrule from the announcers table at NZPF Nationals.
Get
and
out.
I emailed Harney the details.
So what happened? What happened there? Like, how do you even get a one-person jury to begin with?
So I was refereeing, and it was I think the super heavyweight females, and another lifter. Well, actually, Brett Gibbs was the coach, so he protested one of the lifters who got 2-1 good lift to Graham, and Graham overturned it to a no lift by himself because he was the only person there on the jury, and he was standing at the announcers table when the lift was on. So I was furious because I thought, well, you can't take a lift away from someone, from one person who's at a disadvantaged angle. So I emailed Harney and said, here's a story, one person, is that correct? And he said, no, that can't happen. It has to be 3 people. So the rule book got changed the next year to say specifically 3 people. So
wasn't Graham either vice president or president of the IPF for a while?
Yeah, he was.
Yeah. You'd think he would know better.
Yeah, and it's like he was the one that actually made sure the NZPF did stay with the IPF because he sort of just came out of retirement with a whole bunch of legal thing and basically ran the whole thing to ensure that, like, Robert Keller came over to present his argument and Wilkes was presenting his side. And then there was a big vote and it was very contentious.
Ooh,
and it was
that
pretty
would have
much...
That would have been interesting.
Yeah, it was quite comprehensive to stay with the IPF. And then, of course, all of the people that lost set up World Powerlifting New Zealand, which seems to be dead now anyway. I think there's a few in the South Island.
Right.
But, yeah, it's just a shame because it's a small enough sport that we don't need that.
So tell me then, what happened to all of the people that went from NZPF over to World Powerlifting? Is that what they're called? World Powerlifting New Zealand or whatever it was?
Yeah.
Where are they now? And so, like, I'm specifically talking about Julian, Lucic, guys like that.
So Lucic is still running it in the South Island. I do actually respect Steve. He was the only one that actually was nice to me. The nationals out of those people.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, and Julian's still doing his thing in Tower. I think he might be semi-retired, but the people in Wellington, like, because Warren was running it before he died, and then there's a few other people, and then they set up Central Districts as affiliated to World Powerlifting, and then I resigned before they even did the vote for that. But that federation has just crumbled in the last couple of years, and then they've just come back to IPF, and we've just said, look, yeah, you're welcome back. It's all good. Don't want to hold any grudges. It's just like, yeah. So,
man, that's the way it should be, right? It's like, go do your thing. When you're done, come back. Just join in.
We want more people. We want more lifters in. So, yeah, it's like we're always welcoming people to come across. And I think I'd like to see NZPF just get rid of that you can't compete in other federations and that sort of thing rule, because it's got nothing to do with drug testing, because we do hardly any drug testing. The only people who get tested are the top lifters. So I've got no doubts that Evie's and Jewel and Carlina and that they get tested a lot. And I even heard an interview with the guy from Drug Free Sport NZ, might have changed their name these days, saying that they don't care about the social lifters and that. And they've pretty much said to our team that masters lifters and sub-juniors are never going to get tested because they don't want to waste the money. They want to spend the money where it's there. So I've seen them turn up at maybe one nationals, and we've had them at one regionals test 2 people in the last 8 years.
Right.
So, yeah. But
it's a big difference from I know, just thinking of drug testing when we were running comps, like we fought really hard to get drug testers to turn up to local meets, didn't we?
yeah, and that was one thing that Wilkes was good at. He would sort that out. And then when they hadn't been there for a while, I'd reach out to Robin and say, I haven't seen Asada for a while. Because I remember they turned out to one of those comps at the Strength Club at was it Litmus Stadium? Whatever that stadium was.
Yeah, Lightus Stadium.
Lightus, yeah. So I had to beg Asada to stay there because they looked at the facilities and said, no, we don't think it's sanitary, and they wanted to leave. So there was a lot of negotiation to get them to stay there. And
that was the day that we met Simon Bergner for the first time, wasn't it?
Oh yeah. Came over and just because I remember weighing him in with these openers. It's just like, are you sure? Because you've gone down a weight class, you've never done this before. But as his coach, whoever it was over East, said he can do this.
It was Robert. Robert was coaching him back in those days.
Was he?
Oh. Yeah.
Because I think Robert had sent him over to Perth to do a last chance qualifier for nationals or something.
Oh yeah, was it Nat? Couldn't have been. No, it must have been Oceanias or something at the end of the year, because it was middle of the year. We had just come back from nationals a couple of weeks earlier, and I remember this because it was the day after my father-in-law's funeral, which is why I wasn't lifting, and that's why I was just spotting and loading that day. So that would have been like August or something. Yeah.
Like super high, really high, and then squished on his squats. And I think he might have done a bench or 2 and got nowhere on those, and then just disappeared. So
I remember. Yeah, I think he went 0 for 6 and then didn't come out for the deadlifts.
Yeah.
The whole time I remember, after his first squat attempt, because you were chief ref for that, though, weren't you?
I think I might have been on the side because I was organising. I don't know if I was lifting, but maybe I was side, or I might have been chief ref. But yeah,
I think you were chief that day, and Alan was on one side, and one of the newbies was on the other side. Because I remember looking at you, and my eyes bugged out of my head watching after his opening attempt squat, and I think you gave a kind of similar look that was like, oh shit, he's got no chance. He's got no chance. It was like a foot high. It was the squat that you feel bad about with your first warm up in a squat suit.
Yeah.
Like it was one of those. I was like, man.
And I don't think it was lifting equipped. I'm sure it was raw.
No, it was equipped. Yeah.
Oh, was it? Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. That was funny.
But to be honest, like, I don't recall ever doing a equipped squat in training that was to depth because I just couldn't. And one nationals, I think it was the Newcastle one, I forgot to latch my belt on the opener, and I made depth. Got halfway up, and I sort of felt it and then struggled through, and then I latched on the second, got 2 reds. But
Oh, that was
'cause
that
I was
2008?
yeah.
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 Yeah, that was always the fun, wasn't it? Just trying figuring out if you could take the pressure and not kill yourself trying to make depth on an opener in a proper single lift competition. That opener
Yeah,
was stressful.
it was never an easy opener. It was, what can I open with that I'm going to get depth with? Or
Yeah.
what can I touch my chest to the sternum with? So it was always, I didn't bomb out in equip, but I came really close lots of times. I think I looked through my results. I never got more than 6 from 9 a day.
That's why I always used to look at Oleg's results at Worlds, and he would win the 75 kilo class with 4 good lifts or 3
Yeah.
good lifts. I'm like, best in the world only needs 4. It'll be
Yeah.
fine.
And he's still there at the open level at 50 something,
Yeah, he's
because there's
incredible.
just no really top equip lifters coming through, unfortunately. So
Yeah, like you said before, I think it's fine. It's died. It's
yeah,
just it withered on the vine like it was intended to. And I think that's a few administrators. That's what they were trying to do when Raw come in, and a few decisions that were made with the way competitions and weight classes were structured, or qualifiers.
yeah,
So it became a choice between single play or Raw, and Raw won.
yeah,
Which is totally understandable, because single play it's hard. Like, it's really, really hard to do well.
yeah.
And way too expensive for most people.
But to be honest, it is more exciting to watch. Like open worlds equipped, like World Games, that the equipped was much more exciting to watch than the raw.
I
Um,
agree.
yeah,
But in terms of getting people into the sport, Raw is
no,
always gonna win out, and
yeah,
with that popularity, I hope single play kind of sticks around in the same way that all around weightlifting has kept the Steinborn alive.
yeah,
You know, it's a thing, but you know,
yeah. No,
I don't regret our time in equipment, though. I'll say that I had a lot of
no.
fun.
Yeah, because I think at one stage I had gone through every single squat suit on the IPF approved list other than cranes. Because I'd gone the Titan and then the metal ones. And the metal ones are great, but they keep getting runs on the back.
Yep.
And then I switched to the TRX ones, which were good until I saw someone at, I think it was Masters Games in Adelaide or Manham, just completely rip the ass out of his suit. It might have been Steve Wisby in the warm up room, and I was like, I'm not wearing that suit again.
Yeah, right.
Yeah,
I've seen a couple of Inza suits blow out, and like
yeah,
just out of nowhere. Was in Ewald Eitzinger from Austria. He blew out 2 shirts
yeah,
at Worlds one year. He brought 3 with him. Opener at second, blew it out straight, both every time straight down the side.
yeah,
And then he managed to get his third, and I think he got either bronze or silver that year. But yeah, man, that's scary. That kind of weight coming down and then just losing support all of a sudden.
yeah,
No way.
yeah,
I want to go back to, we started talking about the old competitions, and you picked that one, was what, 2013 at Leiter Stadium. Over that 6 years, to get from 2007, where there was like me and you and one other person at a competition, and then
Well, there
six
was
years,
me and you on the scoreboard, and there was
Simon.
4 or 5 others.
I know
Uh,
Simon was there, and there was a few others, wasn't there, just to flesh it out.
yeah, and Simon, we should never have let him lift because he was just squatting so deep. Because I remember that squat of yours where it was Ron Weston and Jim Ambrose on the side.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember watching Jim look across at Ron, and Ron just went. Then they both
Yeah,
got their things up. So, and then Alan's what happened to benefit the doubt? Well, went against you because
yeah.
it was just, there was no leniency on the first comp. It was just
Oh
like,
no,
here
no.
is how squat is judged, and yeah,
So I remember, I know I got one squat. I didn't bomb that day. I know I got one squat, one bench, a couple of deadlifts. That
yeah,
was my first 5 or 6 comps. So I'd never get more than 4 lifts, and I'd only
yeah.
ever get one squat, one bench.
And I was pretty. I never got 3 squats and never got 3 bench. Yeah,
I think by the time I think it took me getting the weights up to like opening around 350, 365 for me to get 3 consistent lifts in a squat suit.
yeah.
So that was like after 6 or 7 years in squat suits, I finally started getting consistent with it. And then I stopped. And then I stopped using them altogether. I finally had one decent comp where I felt like all the lifts were kind of consistent and I had everything under control. And then I never did a equip comp after that because nobody was doing them in Australia. Just didn't seem
And
didn't
that
make sense.
comp where you did get all of the squats in, you would have set the Australian record, except that we didn't have enough national referees in Perth.
Yeah, I did that one
You
in
got
Perth,
9,
and
yeah,
yeah, that was like 950 or something that day. And then I did that again in Townsville in 2000 and it's either 12 or 13, 2013. And once again, just it didn't count as a record.
and the people over east like Wilkes and that, they just came back with. I remember Wilkes said to me, "Oh, like WA judging, it's the old days of Shane Blood. It's always high."
Mm,
They just assumed that we were all just squatting high and cheating, because they had a big moan about us using the monolift at that comp, even though we walked it out, because it was the
that's right.
safest squat rack in the gym.
Yeah.
And that's why I bought that ER rack, because there was just complaints from over east that they're just, those people over in Perth are just cheating, and you couldn't win.
Right.
Just
Yeah, I know. I mean, because the 2008 one, that was done on your ER combo rack, I'm pretty sure. The total record, but
yeah,
it's a whatever. I know it, I should mention it now. Myself, Stephen Pritchard, and Ruben Samanu all talked about what I should have done after that comp, when it came out, what had happened, and the email chain, because we had somebody on the inside at that point that would send us the email chains. So I know the names of everybody that complained about me setting that total record.
yeah,
I've never spoken to any of them about it, and I never will. And so in chatting about it, Stephen was encouraging me, do something about it. This is unfair. This isn't right. And I said, I'm going to do nothing. It's just not worth it. And it was Ruben that said, that's the right thing to do. That's the right call.
yeah,
Just go out and lift. Like, just don't care. Just stop caring what anybody else thinks. You lifted it. Doesn't matter if it's in a record book, if people like it or don't like it. He said, just lift it yourself.
yeah.
And so that made it so much easier, because then I had no dramas, because people would complain about me doing a lot of stuff and I never played at it.
Yeah, and Stephen probably got the worst of it.
Yeah, because
In
he played at
terms
it.
of, yeah,
He kept on pushing back against it.
yeah,
And so it just builds up. Like, the more you push back against all of these, because, we, both of us were accused of so many things. Like, people would write emails and go, we know that Stephen and Nathan are doing this. And so we'd get investigated and we're like, fuck off.
yeah,
I remember telling one person over here, I said, if I took steroids, if I took drugs, I'd make the ones that made me shredded, because I'm incredibly vain and I don't like being fat.
yeah.
And I said, look at me. I'm clearly not taking those drugs, am I? I said, this is...
And it sort of just being around the muscle bit enough, you could tell when people were on the gear, and it's after a while you sort of get and then you got oh no, I'm just taking eggs and I'm just training well and that sort of thing. Remember the car dealer sort of thing. So,
oh,
yeah, the amount of people that would just exclaim that they've never done it, but it was not hard to tell who was on and who wasn't. So
yeah.
they just didn't last long, did they? So yeah,
Yeah, I think what seems to be that more often than not, the guys that take the heaviest cycles or the guys that get into ped use have the shortest lifespans in the sport anyway. There's, obvious outliers to that rule, but for the most part, you're in, you're out pretty quick, because it's hard to maintain strength.
yeah.
It's expensive, I'm fearing, and it's illegal. So as soon as you don't want to do something that's illegal and expensive, your powerlifting career's over.
And it's not like they're doing it like the Russians were, where it's scheduled. You've got a doctor monitoring and that sort of thing. They were taking some stuff that's cooked up, God knows where, And powerlifting, like I've met like 4 people that have broken their legs squatting, and they all had that one thing in common. I mean, Adam and Paul Jordan, and there was. Remember, did you meet that guy Nemo that came in from Serbia? Was training at the muscle pit for a while.
Yeah. Did
He
he
was
break his leg?
funny. He'd go, "Oh, it's like bread. It's just like you just take this."
Wow,
Yeah,
that's nuts.
classic guy. But yeah,
Yeah. So let's going back to the competitions that you ran, because you did a lot of them, and this is one of the things. Like, I just want these kind of people to know this history of our sport, especially here in Perth,
yeah.
because between 2007 and 2013, 14, how many comps did you run?
I don't know, 15 or 20, or there's a
Mm-hmm.
fair few, and then eventually some others took over. But it was all we just try to get a few more every time, and just increase the numbers, and just sort of beg Robert for some more stuff in terms of he paid me to build a platform, so I built a
Mm-hmm.
new platform for it. We got a new bar, which wasn't new; it was a leftover one from War Nationals, but it still was better than we had.
Mm-hmm.
And then I remember the first comp where we got it up to 2 flights, and I
Yeah, I
was
remember.
just
Yeah.
ecstatic that we got 2 full flights. And then we had a comp that we had a flight of women that I was
Yes.
just so happy with, because before that, like we'd had Crystal
Moderman.
Monoman, yeah. So she
You know
did a
she.
couple.
You know she is.
One or two
She is
girls.
still on the board at the Muscle Pit.
Is she? Oh, good on
Yeah.
her. Yeah, yeah,
Crystal, and then I know there's a couple of Masters females after a couple of years, but first few years it was
yeah.
nobody.
No. And then because I created the raw records from scratch, it was just luck that Alan had kept such good records that I went through all his paper records of all the old WA comps of who had actually done the gear check, who'd entered in a squat suit, who'd entered in a deadlift suit or a bench shirt, and go, right, well, those people were in the raw records, because we want to try and capture as much of the old lifting as we could.
Mm-hmm.
So we started with that. And it's always interesting to see the complaints that there was a guy, Alan Short, who was
I
70
remember Alan
something.
Short. Yeah.
Yeah. And then benched close to 130. It might have even been 135 at 83.
Mm-hmm.
So at one stage, he had all the records from M4 down to open. And I had someone complain to me saying, why is he allowed the open records? Why is he allowed
Because
these records?
he's the strongest.
Like, he's 40 years older than you. If you cannot bench more than him, there's something wrong. That's why the
Yeah.
records work that way. Yeah.
Yeah. Wow. I forgot all about him. He was great. Really good
He
bencher.
was. And this is looking back. I remember thinking, well, why doesn't he just squat? And here I am at
Mm.
52 going, no, I'm not going to squat anymore.
Just going, now I get why he doesn't want to squat
Now I
first.
get it. So, yeah,
Yeah. Right.
he's still benching quality at 71. But my thought back days is, surely you can squat. Well, what's wrong with it? But yeah, just naivety, I think so.
What else? What do you remember most about those days?
I remember we were lifting, refereeing, and spotting loading, and for me, just organising it all. You're trying to do everything
Yeah.
and scrambling around. So it was good fun, and everyone helped out. But it was hard work to get new lifters in, and we'd
Yeah.
get them in and do 1 or 2 comps, and then you get the occasional freak like Jezza, the ex-decathlete,
That's
who
right.
came in.
Jeremy Lewis.
Yeah, I'm
Mm.
sure his last name wasn't Lewis back then.
Oh, really?
I'm sure he changed it. I'm sure his name was Jeremy Cox.
Oh, it could be Jeremy
Yeah,
Cox. Yeah, that sounds right. I don't know who
but he was
Jeremy
he
Lewis
was a
is. I'll
weightlifter, but
I'll
he
check
was
out who
just
Jeremy Lewis is later.
yeah,
But yeah,
um,
he was incredible.
yeah, and he was one of those lifters that would be fast but could not grind anything.
Yeah, remember the first comp he came in, Pam Kutcher was over doing your
Yeah,
referee exam that day.
yeah,
And I watched him out in the car park and he just did, like before the deadlifts, just a couple of warm-up jumps to kind of
yeah,
psych himself up, tuck jumps, and he would have jumped onto the car from a standing start. I'm just
yeah,
going, where did this guy come from? And yeah, he pulled something big that day and it was effortless,
yeah,
just effortless.
yeah. And yeah, because Pam came over a couple of times and ran the refereeing courses,
Mm-hmm.
and she was great in terms of everything was by the book. She'd run it through, and then it was you had to learn the rule book effectively by heart, and then do a proper referee exam, and then you became a provisional, and it was
Mm-hmm.
2 full years of refereeing, and then you could do another refereeing exam to become a national. Whereas now it seems to be a lot softer. Like New Zealand just has an online course, and then you can sit in and do a comp, the practical after that, and then you become a provisional. And I don't even think they need to do another theory one to become a national ref. It's
Mm.
just 2 years or close to 2 years, and you're away. So, yeah,
Yeah, I think APA is fairly similar, which does lend itself to some problems, but it gets more people in chairs as well, and hopefully the better referees sort of filter their way through, and it's not just meet directors getting their mates to referee meets and make it a little bit easier on the lifters. So, but and
yeah.
that's always been the difficult part, isn't it? Is the standardizing in powerlifting is difficult to do with refereeing.
The standard has got better in New Zealand because I did make a comment at one stage saying, well, the refereeing standards in New Zealand have lapsed a bit and it's not quite where it was to me. And Rory Lynch got all shitty at me and sent me an email saying I've been just brought in to distribute and blah, blah, blah,
Oh,
blah.
jeepers.
But it was true. And it's got better now because
Mm.
at one stage, the NZPF refereeing was the toughest in the world, whereas the refs had set themselves up behind the lifters in a position that's not the best position to judge depth and judge it from there. And yeah, it got to the stage where we'd have lifters
Uh,
go to the walls and bomb out on depth because they'd never been red lighted in New Zealand, and it's certainly got a lot better now. So, but
yeah.
it's not super strict. I don't think it needs to be that strict, but it certainly needs to be a consistent standard.
That reminded me of walking out onto the I don't know, first attempt squat in New Zealand in 2012 at that massive Commonwealth Oceania that we had in Auckland. That you were the
Oh,
you
that
were the
was
team
awful.
manager for that one. Bad luck that day. That was you shouldn't have said yes to that. And I remember
Oh,
walking onto the platform, looking across and seeing that it was Serena in the side chair, and I just thought to myself, "Yeah, I'm getting 2 whites tonight. I'm not. I'm not getting a white from her."
no, you never want Serena and like Clive Madge maybe on the other side. It's just no.
Yeah,
It was
fortunately, we had somebody from the islands on one side and somebody from another country in the centre chair because it was Commonwealth, so there wasn't that wasn't going to happen. But yeah, saw Serena just gone. Yeah, it's not happening.
no, it just had to be consistently deep for Serena to
Yeah,
judge it. So
yeah,
yeah,
and let's face it, when I was in a squat suit, I was getting 2 millimeters beyond parallel. Like I was getting it
yeah.
just enough to get a white light, and hopefully, and I would hope that spotters got in the way, so I'd get benefit of the doubt decisions because that opener was tough to hit.
Oh yeah, and I was exactly the same, and it was just tough to get it
Mm.
down, and then my head would feel like it's bursting and get there. Because is that in Oceanias where I just scraped through. Actually, I got 2 squats in and got red light on the third on squat, and then it was so humid in Tahiti for that one that
Oh,
my
that's
head was coming off the bench, which it had never done before. I ended up putting chalk on the back of my head for the last one, and then managed to get the last one to the sternum with my head
yeah,
not
right.
coming off. Yeah, and that
Yeah, I
was
didn't. I didn't go to Tahiti. I saw Tahiti in December. I'm just going. That is not the place the super heavyweight should be.
you're probably right there, but it was a fun comp.
Yeah, I heard. Yeah.
the main thing I remember there was a Tahitian super heavyweight woman, and she came out to squat and got timed out. And in the crowd, I think she was a Tahitian princess or something, and the crowd was almost about to riot. And then one of the New Zealand guys was coming out to squat because it was a mixed flight. Then a couple afterwards, and he was ready with a couple of seconds to go, and they should have given the squat command. And I'm sure they deliberately timed him out just to go, hey, look, it's not just your lift.
Yeah. Wow. Gee. Oh man. Yeah, I really do miss those days. I was just thinking, looking through some of the old stuff in preparing for this today, and I totally forgot about the competition you came up for in Karratha as well. Like, we had a decent sized competition in Karratha.
And that was the one. Remember, I measured all the bars, and not a single bar in your gym had the rings at 81 centimeters.
Yeah.
Because you were always struggling with getting the suit to touch and the shirt to touch in the right place.
That's right. Oh, yeah. Because they would go between 79 and 83.
Yeah.
Yeah. But not one of them was 81.
Not one. So, yeah.
Oh, man. Yeah, so that was fun. I missed that. And I think what I missed about that most, that as opposed to today, because the sport really has exploded. It's massive now. Kind of back when we started, we knew pretty much everybody. Like, you either knew everyone or you knew someone that knew that person. Like, the community was a lot tighter.
And you could turn up at comps and you'd find a helper or a handler, because everyone helped each other out. And we talked to each other. We talked programming. What are we doing? There was the Melbourne Uni and Steve Giffen's club in Melbourne. I can't remember. There's a few other
Southern Powerlifting, which was Steve Giffen, and me and Tim Gamanchis were just talking about that yesterday. Melbourne Uni, Mildura always had a club. Had Brett Smart out at Colac, Queensland Uni. And then you had,
and then there was the guys, like there's SFW with Steve Pritchard and Ryan and another guy who's back over here in New Zealand doing Kyokushin karate. And I can't remember, Alan something.
Al.
Yeah. So he's in Taranaki because I follow him on Instagram on his karate stuff. And there was.
I think Axe, we used to call him. Is that right?
Yeah.
Axe, yeah. Wow.
And
there you go.
It was Caldebiano's crew out of Sydney.
Yep.
Yeah.
I can't remember what him and Damien Giles, and there was a few others there. And then you had those guys around North Sydney, which was in Bondi, like Jim and Jeanette and their little Masters crew as well.
Oh, yeah, and David Chong. Because that comp that Dave Chong did in Sydney, that he ran, I thought that was my favourite nationals that we ran.
Oh yeah, 2009 wasn't it?
Did like 9:55 and then got pinged afterwards for Jack
stimulants.
Half of Australia. So
and in fairness to Odell, I was doing work for Powerlifting Australia back in those times, and it's why I stopped, because I was writing most of the stuff for the website, and the way it wanted to be presented, we weren't going to say anything about Scott Hill, which I thought was really unfair. We were going to use the celebrity status of Odell coming from the NRL to prove a point about supplements and sports drinks and making a scapegoat out of him. And I said, no, I'm not writing that. That's not right. Because we know two people were pinged at the same comp for the same drink, for the same thing. And I think the way Odell was treated through that suspension was horrible, and we drove him out of the IPF. I think that's just my personal opinion.
Because it's like, why would they? Because I think he tried to come back, and then they just made it so hard for him.
Yeah.
I
thought it was an absolute disgrace, but because of that, we got to see, some amazing lifting out of him. Because he left the IPF and opened up other avenues.
Yeah.
Like I think we got to see some really amazing things over several years from him at that big dogs competition of Marcos's.
And it's just interesting to see that when we were lifting, no one in Australia in any Fed had squatted 400 kilos.
Mm.
I think Paul Ney might have done it in a Leviathan in a capo comp that was.
I
But
think Paul Ney and Dave Park had both
yeah,
done it.
yeah,
A double play with 2.5 meter knee wraps.
yeah, and just different standards of it. But
Yeah.
maybe Adam Pinkard, if he'd actually trained properly and committed to it for a few years,
Well, if those
maybe.
plates in Tasmania were actually 20 kilos, he would have been fine.
Yeah, yeah,
Remember you went through and weighed all of the ones in the muscle pit, and I can tell you those plates are still in the shed at the muscle pit with your pen
with the numbers
scratchings on it,
on.
with 9, because they go all the way from 18.9 through to 20.8, wasn't it? Yeah.
Yeah,
And they're all there,
yeah.
still written down on each 20 kilo plate how much it actually weighs.
I would refuse to use any of Henry's handle plates because they were the ones that were all over the place, and I'd use those old sportsman plates that Alan had because they were all pretty much accurate. They're all 20 point something or 19.9 or within tolerance.
I think that's what happened with Adam. The gym that he trained at in Hobart was a really old gym, and the metal plates that he thought were 20 kilos. And so, and remember, he was squatting a huge amount of weight.
Yeah.
Having that many plates on the bar and that so inaccurate, it was worth 10 to 15 kilos on the bar.
Yeah.
So he was literally thinking he was squatting 15 kilos heavier than what he really was.
Yeah.
Which just sucked. Because he should have had the world record at some point in his life. He was an incredible squatter.
Yeah, but I got the feeling he wasn't training as consistently as he should have been. And I think for you guys at supers, it's not easy, is it, to weigh 160, 180 kilos or whatever, and stay at a level that allows you to hit the weight.
Adam, I think twice had huge weight losses because he just decided it wasn't worth. He didn't like being big, and he lost a lot of weight. It's probably pretty sensible. Seeing how it worked out for me, probably not the best.
Yeah, I mean, it's easier said than done, isn't it? I'd like to get back down to about 90 something kilos, but it's hard work. I can diet down to 108, and then I'll sort of fall off the wagon, and then I consistently stay around 110, 111 at the moment.
Yeah, right. I got down to 116 this time last year.
Yeah,
went on a real tear. But I sit probably around 125 these days, quite comfortably. Don't have to do much to maintain that. I can't imagine how much work would be required to drop another 20 kilos.
Yeah, I'm sort of waiting for those GLP drugs to come down to a reasonable price. Because at $500 a month, I'm just not willing to spend that amount of money for it.
Nah.
Because they work, but apparently you've got to stay on it long term. So it's like, yeah.
Yeah, why would you want to?
Yeah.
It's like, I know guys our age, a lot of guys our age now are going down the route of TRT. Same deal with that. Like as soon as you take TRT once, even though it's just therapeutic and so you can live a happier, normal life, you're on it for the rest of your life.
Yeah.
Like there's no coming off it. I just can't bring myself to be taking a medication that requires me to have it every day for the rest of my life. I'm just going, well, that's food and exercise and taking care of yourself. So I'd rather go that route.
The exercise part of it I can do. I mean, I get my steps in and that sort of thing. But these days I'd like a bench once or twice a week. But I don't follow a program. I sort of have a rough feeling in my head of what I want to do, and then I sort of just do what I do that day.
Yep.
I track it all, but I've just never written it down since the days of doing Shaco and 531 and Smolov and everything under the sun.
Oh, you tried way more programs than me, didn't you? I forget that.
Yeah.
Because I never did 5-3-1 or Smolov.
Yeah, I didn't do the full smile, but I did the Russian squat, which was the 2 day a week one. So you just spread
Mm-hmm.
it out. But when I was starting, it was just I got into powerlifting because I'd sort of got to the stage with karate where like you get to a certain level. Like I'd been a brown belt for 8 years, and I just moved around so much that to get to a black belt, you have to go all in and train 4 days a week. And if you come from one style to another, it's just slightly different enough that the sparring's the same, but learning all the kata and everything else is you have to take another 3 years. That I wanted a different sport, and then I was reading what was called Muscle Media 2000 back then, and
Shit.
Pavel was
Yeah.
writing it.
Mm-hmm.
So I'd read his columns, and then I bought his book, and then I got into deadlifting from that.
Was that the Russian Strength Challenge, or which one was that?
Power to the People was
Power
the
to
original one.
the first one.
Yeah, and that was really because it was about like 5 reps and actual sort of step loading
Yep.
periodization. And then I got into kettlebells a bit. I think I had the first kettlebell in Australia, which I bought from this guy in Tasmania before even Rick was starting up his
Oh,
one
what was
in
his name? Was that
Melbourne.
that was Paul Fowler? Paul Tucker? Paul Tucker,
Yeah,
wasn't
that's
it?
right.
Yeah.
Yeah, he
Paul
had a
Tucker
foundry
he
in
is still
Tasmania.
he's still going in
Is he?
yeah, he's still going in kettlebell sport. Still active. Still
Yeah,
around. Yep. Yeah, that's a man that started niche and has just stayed super niche.
yeah,
He does one thing.
yeah,
Um
yeah,
yeah, I guess you would have been. Yeah, because you had kettlebells at least a year before I had kettlebells, and I was
yeah.
like
Because I
right
had
at the start of the queue.
two 24s, and then eventually I got a couple more. I think I might have got a 48 or something from Rick at whatever his
Mm,
one was called, Australian Kettlebells in Melbourne.
yep.
And then they eventually just got everywhere. But at one stage, I was thinking of going over to the States and doing the RKC certification.
Yeah. Okay. What do you remember? What year that was?
That would have been, I don't know, 2006, 2007.
I did not know that.
And then I just couldn't justify the price. But I
Mm,
could have afforded it back then, like 4 kids and that sort of thing. But I couldn't quite get the snatch numbers. I wanted to
right.
do it at home. So I think there was a guy, Don Stevenson in Sydney, that was the first guy who was certified in Australia to do it, and he did it a year or so after that. And then it got mad and just went super popular
Yeah. You had
a year or so later.
Andrew. So Andrew Reid in Melbourne, who ended up being an RKC instructor as well, and still going these days. Matt Beecroft, I think in Adelaide, he was. They were the first. They were the first two, and then that Don guy, TC Lee over here in Perth,
Yeah,
and then after that, sort of, yeah. Then there was every man and his dog at one stage was a kettlebell instructor,
yeah,
or teaching it, or teaching a kettlebell course on how to use them,
yeah,
including me. You know, I jumped in on that too. I ended up doing the SFG in 2013 with Pavel because he came to Perth, and then it made
I
it,
did. Oh, yeah,
yeah, and then that made it affordable. So I
yeah,
did 3 days with Pavel over in. Oh, there's a park in North Perth, just off Fitzgerald Street. That we
yeah,
had that for 3 days. That was horrible because day one was like 43 degrees. It was end of November.
yeah.
Killed me. Yeah, so I did that. That was really fun. And Pavel's awesome, man. Pavel's so funny.
He's such a smart guy because
Yeah,
he was the guy that introduced Shaco to Western powerlifting and translated his first articles. And
yeah,
then I wish he had written more or translated more powerlifting books because his powerlifting articles. He wrote like Beyond Bodybuilding and then Power to the People Pro, which is fantastic. And then I did a few of the programs in those of the, the old school Russian ones that
because they were
just
all
well. So yeah,
like they were all based off Prilipin's chart. They were all
yeah,
based off the same research.
yeah,
And now you had Pavel, Shako, and the Basovs, and a few others.
yeah,
The Basovs were the head Russian coaches for years. They all went to the same school. They all had the same lecturers. They all heard the same information. And
yeah,
so all three of them have just got slight variations on the same theme, which I loved. And so that way you can kind of pick and choose between Pavel stuff, Shaco stuff, and the Basov stuff, depending on how you feel.
Yeah.
Knowing that full well it's all the same research and all works. And I remember them saying to us that they had a nickname for Shaco when it was like the Crusher or the Crippler or something like that. He just had a really extreme idea about how much volume was required.
Yeah. But nowadays, some of these coaches, especially the IPF ones, they're doing crazy volumes because they're getting these people so young, which is why the junior and sub-junior records are just taken off, because they're just throwing these guys into volume and just straight powerlifts.
Yeah.
Young. I don't know how long they'll stay in it. But yeah.
Yeah, that's the hard part. But think about, when you're 18 or 19, like you're going to university or you got your first job, you're not working that hard. You have more free time, more time to eat than you'll ever have in your life. Concentrating on powerlifting between the ages of 18 and 21 just seems like a no-brainer nowadays, with the amount of the access to information, the access to good resources, good coaching, and good gyms. It's like, go hard. Of course we're going to see these crazy records from juniors now, like the 415 deadlift.
Yeah.
What is that English guy? He's what, 21, 22? Pulling 415?
Yeah, 21, 22. It's like, yeah. But I did watch that comp on the weekend, and there was some great lifting, but it was just unexciting. I don't know if you saw much of the live stream, but Nante's lift, but none of them were competing against each other.
Yeah, that's what happened to our expos in the 2010s, and that was the problem that I had with them, is we weren't competing. They were great for the fitness expos and doing these exhibitions and getting the crowd excited about powerlifting, and I certainly enjoyed myself, and me and Joey Zingini think it's the best lifting we've ever had. It was so much fun, but I wasn't competing against anybody.
Yeah, because you've got so many people in different weight classes,
right?
And now there's too many of those comps. You've got Sheffield, which is great, but now they're trying to do all these other mini Sheffields of people that you want to see people compete head to head.
Yeah.
And people are not doing their best at Worlds because they want to save it for Sheffield, which
they're sandbagging so they can set a record later on.
Yeah,
it's not healthy. It's not healthy for the sport at all. And the way we're going, we're making it harder and harder for the freaks that wander in from nowhere. Like, we don't really see that anymore. I thought that was always exciting, just mostly because that was also me, just wandering in from the Pilbara and turning up, benching and squatting shit ton at my first comp. Adam Jones did the same here in Perth when he came over, and he's multiple national champion now as well. It seems these days we see people coming into the sport from a long way off, and we see their development from really low to high. And so there's no surprises like there used to be. And I think that's because there's far too many of these record comps.
Yeah. And even now, like I've looked at the nominations for Oceanias, and it just doesn't look that exciting because Australia doesn't seem to have a lot there. A few of the top New Zealanders are lifting, like Tim's lifting and Megan's lifting, but Evie's sitting it out, and Carlina's and Jewel are sitting it out, which fair enough. They've already done too many comps this year anyway. But we've got too many comps that I think Oceanias needs to be every second year and Commonwealth's every fourth or something.
I'd go with that one. Like, it's got to make it a little bit special again.
Yeah.
Remember, we used to alternate between Oceania years and Commonwealth years.
Yeah, I'm sure that. Yeah, and now it's like they're probably still doing that with Commonwealths every second years, but Oceanias has lost its sparkle.
Yeah, now we're having like Oceania, Asia, Pacific, all jammed into one event. And you go, well, I always thought the fun thing about Oceania was that we got to hang out with our island cousins.
Yeah, and it was
just a party.
Yeah,
it was just a big party. Lots of lifting. Banquets are always insane, and it's just fun to be there. and good competition too. There was always a lot of good lifters that would turn up at certain comps because they couldn't afford to travel for every other year, and so you'd see them if you traveled, and they were amazing lifters.
Yeah.
There's not really a place for those guys in the sport anymore, which is
No,
sad.
and they were like sharing squat suits and knee wraps and that back
Yeah.
then. Because that Oceanas I did in Tahiti, I ended up squatting 5 kilos more than Jezza, but he was probably lifting raw.
Yeah.
And I think he only got one lift out of three. And I was getting at least 80 kilos out of my squats. But it was just hot and humid. I remember one guy almost killed himself in the warm up because he walked out of squat and it was on like a rubber floor, and it was hot and humid, and you could see his feet sort of just, and he did almost the splits. The weight just, yeah. So
That's bad.
back when warm up rooms were just whatever was cobbled together, and the only decent equipment was the one on the platform, and everything else was
Oh
home.
man, you should see even at nationals for the APA this year, it's a Laco everywhere in the warm ups. It's just wall to wall, bunches of racks everywhere. You still obviously have to share. Warm up rooms aren't that big, but even the need to share is greatly diminished from what it was.
Yeah.
Like I remember there used to be 2 racks at nationals, and one of them was like a power rack.
Yeah, like we had 4 at Masters Nationals, and there was a bit of complaints about that. But we had, they were all at least proper combo racks. There was 2 different Hansu ones, an old Eleiko and a Power Dragon, which is Hansu's off, basically a Eleiko clone version. But you still get people complaining, going, "Oh, that's not exactly the same as on the platform, and it's not Eleiko." But the Eleiko racks cost a fortune.
Yeah.
We're looking at replacing it in WCPA, and it's just the cost of getting a new one. And they are the best rack, but is it worth 3 times the cost of what you can get a Hansu for? Or yeah.
Yeah, it's debatable, isn't it?
Yeah.
You know that whole rack thing, it's worldwide. And it's changed a lot, even in 15 years. Like I remember going to Worlds and Arnold's for the first time, and it was different racks. There'd be 6 racks, and they're all combo racks. But it might be 2 old ERs, 2 newer ERs, a really old Eleiko, and a newer Eleiko. And it would be 6 different bars. It wouldn't be standardized.
Yeah.
It was only after a few years at the Arnold's that Rogue started sponsoring and would have nothing but Rogue bars available. And so all the equipment at the biggest competition in the world started getting standardized 10 years ago. And now you go to local comps, and that's the expectation, that we'll have all Eleiko benches in the warm-up room, all the bars will be the same, and what's in the warm-up room is going to be exactly what's on the platform. And I just laugh. I go, man, that seems like fiction to me, having that ever set up. But I guess in 10 years' time, it probably will be the case.
Well, I don't think here in New Zealand, just because Eleiko is just so expensive. But just having it standardized. But there is actually so much difference between the racks that when we had the ER ones, they were all pretty similar. And then you've got the Rogue one, which is just too big and heavy. It's got a great pad, but it's too wide, so people are clanging on. The original Hansu one, the rack's set too far forward. I've got the V2, which is pretty good, but it's just not. They're all just slightly different enough to be annoying.
I kind of like that. I used to like it that it was always a different bench and a different rack at competitions, and it's kind of potluck, and you got to deal with it on the day.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So, you'd always get some people complaining about the bars and whatever, and it makes for funny threads. So I know Blaine Sumner would always ask what was in the warm-up room, and he wasn't saying it because he had an issue with it. He just wanted to know what was there ahead of time so he could plan it all out in his head. But he would often get baited by some of the other US lifters, Joe Capolino in particular, who would start going, you can't set world records in the warm-up room, don't you? And just start needling him. He goes, no one cares, right? It's not a world record out there. But yeah, that was kind of where some people are going with it now. That, well, if I'm going, actually, this played out in Norway this year. Lifters thinking that they, had an argument with a lifter about whether they really needed to be on the exact same rack in their training session that they were going to be on the platform at Worlds. And I just said, it doesn't matter. It just doesn't matter that much. But they were adamant that they could only bench on the rack that they were going to lift on.
Yeah. And you see a bit of that these days, and I can sort of understand it with people that are absolutely best of the best, like a Agatha or something. But even she trains on all sorts of weird stuff.
The best of the best are good at training on everything.
Yeah.
Because the equipment doesn't matter at that point.
Because it's not like they swap the rack out halfway through a comp. Like, everyone's in competing on exactly the same equipment.
Yeah.
And you're warming up on the same equipment. So you haven't got an advantage over everyone if you're warming up on the Eleco, if the rack out on the platform is a Polini or a Rogue or whatever. It's just, you're all competing on the same one. Yeah.
You're all competing against gravity. Gravity's the same for all of you. Just get on with it.
Yeah.
Oh, wow. I just looked at the time. That's 90 minutes of back in my day talk. It's probably enough of that, isn't it?
Yeah. Good to catch up with you anyway.
It's good. It really is. So what do you reckon, what's happening with you then with powerlifting over the next 12 months? Where are you going?
I'll maybe do a bench comp probably early next year.
Mm-hmm.
And then I'll run a local comp here in Masterton summer. We normally had a sanctioned one, and then the woman who runs our thing is saying, we've got regionals in March, and then it's too much hassle, and then we don't want to run another sanctioned comp before then. So I'll just run it unsanctioned at the gym. We maybe just do it bench only. Not sure if I'll go to Masters, but depending on how training goes over summer. Like, I haven't been training much at the moment just because the weather's been crap and got lots on with work. But we'll see what happens over summer, whether I get the bug again, or whether I just become a bench only lifter, or whether I just retire altogether. So, yeah.
I can tell you, after doing the last 6 months of bench training, now that my shoulder is healed enough that I'm allowed to lift, it's taken me 5 months before I started thinking about deadlifting.
Yeah.
I haven't thought about squatting yet, though.
I haven't deadlifted in probably 4 months. I do the occasional RDL.
I do deadlifts monthly.
Do you? Yeah.
Once a month. That's enough. That keeps me satisfied. I feel good.
Yeah.
Okay, I've done them. That felt
I like
right.
box squat too. Like, I've got I got one of those yellow steps you see in Bunnings that they use to step up into. Yeah, so I've got one of those that's perfect height for box squat. Solid, and then I bought a pad off Temu, and then I've just got a good safety squat bar, which is effectively a clone of the Elite FTS one.
Mm-hmm.
And then so I do safety squat maybe once a week. Occasionally I'll do buffalo bar, and then I'll bench once or twice a week. So I've got everything I need. I've got a nice home gym, but I'm just not motivated to train as much these days. And yeah.
I think that seems to be the way with most open lifters getting into their 40s and 50s. It's like, it's there. And it could come back. And it could come back at any time. But I think nowadays, and talking to a bunch of people in the same situation, it's more just being committed to training at a level that will never be what we used to do, because we're never going to have that much passion and drive or time or energy to do it. But I think it's more about being involved enough just not to be mad about it.
Yeah.
Like, I know if I don't train enough, I get really annoyed with myself. I'm not good to be around. But if I train just enough, it's enjoyable. I remember what it should feel like. There's a little bit of progress, and I'm happy. And I think that's probably going to be powerlifting for me now for the rest of my life.
Yeah, because I think I've still got another bench PR in me, purely because I started off as an awful bencher, and over time I've become effectively mediocre or reasonable for a master.
What
I was
what,
just
what
such a
was
normal veteran in open distance.
Wilkes's one to Aaron Hawkins? You're slightly less pathetic now.
Yeah. So eventually I'd like to do a 160. I did 157.5, I don't know, maybe 2 years ago in a bench only comp
Mm-hmm.
at about 112 kilos. So, and then I did 152.5 at nationals this year at 108. So I reckon I can probably get 160 eventually
Mm-hmm.
in a couple of years. But I don't think I'll be going to Worlds. Because I've been wanting to go to Worlds, but just the locations are just terrible and just super
I was
expensive. And
talking
2 years
about
in a
this the
row,
other day
South
with
Africa.
someone. Like, I don't want to go to the States next year. Definitely not going traveling there. I don't think that's wise.
No, Reno. It's just like, no way, not while Trump's in power. They're just
No, no.
buying wackos.
Yes, I'll wait. I'll wait till I'm a M2, and then I'll travel
Yeah.
again. But
Yeah.
so I tell you, you'll enjoy this because you've known me long enough to know how stupid my head is. I'm only 12 months post shoulder surgery, so total replacement on the right hand side. It's all the rugby stuff, all the being a tight head prop for too long came back to haunt me. Honey Smith had the same replacement done. He was a tight head too, funnily enough. And so I've only been benching for a few months, and before I got to 12 months post surgery, I benched 120. And I wasn't trying, like I wasn't really pushing. I was just following similar progressions that I've always done. I got to 120. In my head, as soon as I saw 2 red plates on the bar, the next number was 200. So I've gone from, I can't bench at all. I can barely do 50 kilos. Then over the weeks, 50, 60, 70. I get to 120. I've gone, sure, okay, next is 200. Let's go. And that's when that's what I had to step back a bit and go, all right, maybe not. Let's just enjoy training now.
Yeah. And that's where I'm at the moment in terms of the other hip will have to be done in 3 years or so. And I probably don't
Mm-hmm.
want to speed that up
Right.
anymore. And I can bench reasonably well, but the shoulder's got a little bit of niggle, just probably from technique and maybe overuse. But it comes and goes. But talking to other lifters my age, we've all got something going on,
Right.
all got niggles. So it's just keeping it going and doing the occasional comp. And yeah,
I always laugh at David Rex because obviously most powerlifters know who Superman is these days, and Damien Forziglia. I'm pretty sure I say that wrong. He's a great bencher out of Florida.
yeah.
Both M3 lifters. I find it hilarious that one of David's best friends is Damien because Damien is his chiropractor.
Yeah.
So even the guy that's had the longest, most successful powerlifting career, he's beat up. Like he's always getting treatment, and his chiro is now one of the best benches in the world as well. Just
And
because
Dave
you
Ricks is
need
an
it.
incredible lifter. It's like, but you watch him though, he'll hobble out there and he looks beat up, but
Oh
he's still
yeah,
super strong. And
yeah.
we were talking about
He walks like an 85-year-old man, but he squats
yeah,
like a 25-year-old.
we were talking about Terry earlier, and he mentioned that um, Eric was hard done by because he was only 500 grams above the 93s. That's well, the reason why he's 500 grams above the 93s is that's where Dave Ricks is lifting, and you don't want to like. He was on track to, if he didn't bomb, he could have won the 105, but he was never going to win the 93s. So there
No, no. Oh man, good times, really good times. Listen, I want to end this on thank you for all the work that you did for powerlifting in Australia because I'm pretty sure nobody ever thanked you at the time, did they? Like you got a lot of complaints, a lot of bitching, a lot of moaning, and a lot of people saying that they could do better. But I think what doesn't get told a lot, and so I want to tell the story, is of how much work you did setting up powerlifting today. So most of the people today probably have never heard of Paul MacManus, but they're lifting today in Perth because of you. So well done.
and you and Alan, it wouldn't have
Yeah.
happened without the three of us, to be honest. But Alan's really the young son guy that sits around in the back end and effectively keeps it together.
Yeah.
I think he'd been a member for Powerlifting Australia for 10, 15 years. Remember when we saw his membership card and he was like number 11 or something?
It was almost single digits.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah,
Right.
I hope some of the younger lifters hear this and maybe even reach out for a bit of appreciation. That would be nice.
Cool.
Probably won't,
No
but
worries.
yeah, always good to catch up. Sorry for leaving it this long, but really enjoyed having you.
No worries. Good to speak to you. Cheers, Nathan.
Cool, man. That was fun.